I want to get the intro right because, I mean, there's so many things on this list. I'm going to keep it
so
kind of
lovely.
short
Keep
if I
it
could.
short.
Businesswoman, that's about the easiest way to
There you
state
go.
it. One of America's richest self-made women by Forbes.
Hello.
Huge title. Powerhouse. I love the name Powerhouse. Behind some of America's biggest brands like Good American, Skims. Now bringing your expertise to the mic, Emma Grede. Hello, Emma. How are you?
Hello, my darling. I'm so good. So happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you for making the time. It's so fun to have someone like you in studio because I have so many questions and I'm so excited about everything you have going on, which I'm sure feels like a million different things. But, you know, sometimes when people hear like the resume, they might feel like almost like a different planet, you know? You have so many titles and so many things going on. But could you tell me a little bit about like what growing up was like and how we're here today?
Yeah, do you know, this is such a great place to start, seeing as my whole family are here in town. My mum's here from London. So I was raised in East London, single mum, one of 4 girls, you know, very, very humble beginnings. You know, it was like a regular life, just like most people, not harder, but definitely no easier. And, you know, I honestly, if I'm honest and I think about it, I didn't know anyone who was an entrepreneur. That was never what I set out to do. Where I come from, you work to pay your bills and you just took a job, and whatever that job was, hopefully you were moderately interested in it, but it didn't matter because you were probably not, you know, you're doing a 9 to 5. And honestly, I just worked very hard. I just love fashion my whole life and got, you know, one job and then into another and then into another, and kind of found myself at 24, in a place where I felt very undervalued and very underpaid. And so I decided to go out on my own and start something. And that is where my journey began.
Yeah, I mean, so many people have already resonated with your story, and to get to bring it into the audio world now, congrats on the podcast,
Thank
Aspire
you.
with Emma. Tell me who that's for. Like, who's going to take the most from this podcast?
Well, you know, listen, I've spent my entire life building and scaling businesses. And at some point, you know, I honestly believe that I just get so many questions. So many people say to me, how do I get a pay rise? How do I make a change in my career? How do I start a business? And so the idea of the podcast was really about scaling mentorship. But it's for anyone that wants to live the life of their dreams, right? I think that we all want to live up to our own maximum potential. And so I'm obsessed with that idea of who gets to start a business and who gets to, you know, decide how we spend our time. And I believe that everything starts with yourself. It's all about, you know, you get out what you put in. And so I really just think that if we can focus on that, most people can end up doing what they want to do. And so the podcast is really about making sure that we stay in learning mode, which is one of the things that I talk about all the time.
Yeah, and bringing so many fun friends to like learn those things from.
Yes.
Like, I mean, Gwyneth Paltrow already, Jay Shetty, Michael Rubin.
I love.
And in an audio and obviously YouTube form as well. It's so fun for people to watch. What inspired you to start, though, Aspire and I guess bring it into the audio space? And what has it been like to connect with that audience in that way? Because it feels so intimate.
You know what it does? It feels so intimate. And in a way, there's something so nice about like that long format. I feel like everything that we do now is so fleeting. And so what's so nice is to get really deep into a subject. You know, if we're going to talk about what it really takes to build the life of your own dreams and to, you know, start a business, then you want to go really deep on that. And people want to answer, you know, they want the answers to questions like, how do I, you know, raise money, or how do I bootstrap something? And so I'm just being very honest about my journey, because I feel like there's so much information out there, but actually people kind of sugarcoat over the details. And I'm just going to be really honest and tell you all the details, the good, the bad, and the ugly, because there's so many things that have happened in my career that don't make it to Instagram, right? Because it's not fun, it's not pretty, it doesn't look good, it wouldn't make a great picture. And so I'm just trying to be really honest with people about what it takes to be truly successful.
Yeah, I mean, you built so many brands, and I'm curious about that from like the content standpoint. Is it kind of the same process? How are you like building the show in a way that you structure it to, you know, with your skills now into this format?
You know, it's not massively different. I think I'm a very naturally curious person, so I'm going to figure out how things work. But, you know, I really always think about a need or a problem. I'm like, how can I solve that problem? And when you think about podcasting as a whole, for such a wide media, it's a very narrow viewpoint. There's a lot of dudes talking a lot about business in a really high level way. And I'm like, what happens if you're, you know, a girl that owns a salon in Minnesota and you want to open a second salon? Well, like, I want to give that person the opportunity and the chance to know how they can scale their business and everything in between. So I'm trying to, talk about business in a way that is not complicated, that is not convoluted, and that is just really honest. And I'm allergic to toxic positivity. I hate the idea that people say, you can manifest your way there. I'm like, no, you can't. You can try, but I don't know how well that's going to work. That's just a piece of it. So I'm trying to, again, expose people to the level of work, the level of ambition, and the level of focus that it takes to be truly, truly successful.
Yeah, that's amazing. How are you liking the podcasting space in terms of I don't know, it's a different medium. Sometimes, people, it takes a curve to learn about it. How's your prep? Do you just go into it with that curiosity?
Can you imagine? I am the most, I love preparation, but I have a very finite amount of time. So right now, I'm just who am I the most interested in that I would need zero prep? And luckily, what I do very well and I've done in my businesses is I build great teams. So for me, everything is about assembling the right people and bringing in experts, because I'm a great podcast listener. I'm not a great interviewer. I'm just a very, very curious girl. So I'm going to figure it out, piece it together, and bring in people that know. And I talk about that a lot in my business, right? There's a place where you can be an expert and a place where you can bring all your energy and enthusiasm, and there's a right time for that. And then at some point, you need to surround yourself with people that know better and can do better. And I'm not too proud. It's I always think that the beauty in what I do is assembling amazing teams and getting to work with really brilliant people. So if I don't know it, I'm going to find somebody else who does.
Yeah, for sure. The through line, I feel like for so many of your projects and brands is, purpose. How do you kind of make sure that stays the goal for these massive teams, with everybody you're working on?
Well, I think that's a really, really good question. And, for me, it's always about finding what it is that I am really trying to achieve. And with this, when I think about the podcast, this is about raising the ambition level. This is about people being able to live in a way that is to their highest purpose, to their highest self, to their, to the best possible life. And so everything I do comes back down to that. And I think whenever we're thinking about guests or we're thinking about subject matters, it's does it go back to a place where it's truly useful? Because I want you to take 45 minutes or an hour of your time and come out with something that you can use immediately. And so that's really the whole idea behind Aspire. It's how can we give you, and, I honestly say to people all the time, if I'm going to take an hour of your time, I'm going to give you something that is tangible and useful immediately. I don't want you to have to try and figure it out. That's my job. I'm going to figure it out for you, and you're going to have something you can go and use.
Yeah, I feel that already. I'm learning so much just from the first few minutes here. Absolutely. You've gotten to a point where you can be, truly selective with your ventures. Are there any of non-negotiables that you either operate on internally, now learning what you have?
Oh my goodness, how long have you got? So many.
Yeah, I know.
There's so
give
many.
An hour.
Well, here's the thing. I really am in a place in my life right now where everything that I do, it can never just be about me, because I'm at the point where I'm very comfortable in my life and I love what I do. I have what I believe is the best job ever. I love my work. I love my teams. I love what we do. I love where we're going. And I even love it when, it's a disaster, because I'm a figure it out type of person. So for me right now in my career, it's about how many other people can you impact? And I feel like I've just been on such a great journey. And I said to you earlier, I'm obsessed with the idea of who gets to be successful. And I know that there was a bunch of things that happened to me early in my career that allowed me to have the type of opportunities that I have. So I'm well, how do we make it so that that is more attainable for other people? Because we don't all go to great schools and, get the right qualifications and fall into the right firm and get the right job. That hasn't been my journey. And so I really think about that from the point of view of how many other people are going to have untraditional journeys. But you can decide what you want to do at any point in your life. You can have a change at 42 and decide, you know what, I want to do something completely different I'm doing right now. So I'm really trying to be the best model for what I'm talking about right now.
Yeah. One of those people I think you've, gotten to collaborate with recently was Kristen Juszczyk.
Oh, I love
with the
Kristen.
NFL and Fanatics. I mean, I love that. She went viral for her jackets and her different, oh my God, it was so
that
cool
Taylor
last
Swift
season.
Moment. I mean, it's so crazy because when she was DMing me, she was like, hey, I really need someone to help me get this business off the ground. But I didn't put two and two together. I didn't understand who she was, and I didn't connect that moment to the Taylor Swift jacket. But this is what I mean, about a certain type of person. She literally when, I mean, she must have got like 20 people to call me. It was so crazy. She just went everywhere around, and it was like from some guy from Amazon, some hairdresser that we mutually know. And she just like bashed the door down. And of course, when I met her, I was like, this girl is incredible and she's going to be successful. But I was impressed by the idea, you know, what she'd been doing, and that she trained herself to sew on YouTube, you know, like she just wasn't going to let anything stand in her way. And so for me, someone like that was always going to be successful, regardless of our partnership. What I've done is accelerated that success. You know, I make it quick, I make it happen, and hopefully we're going to build a beautiful big business together.
It's so interesting because it's like a multitude of things that'll catch your eye. Obviously, like the product's great, but also the person and her, the way she like got to you. What is it though you think is the thing that would catch your eye most? Is it a product, or is it like usually the person?
So you know what I think about with entrepreneurs, I'm always obsessed with like the individual, but you might not be successful in your first venture. So it's like, do you have the tenacity and the resilience to actually keep going? But I also think what makes people successful is when your idea collides with what's happening in culture. And we've seen the resurgence, not just of sports, but also like women's sports, the massive interest in that. And so I think what you do has to collide with where we are in the greater culture, and when those two things come together, like, you're onto a winner.
Yeah. And we see a lot of like celebrities do those ventures as well, where it's like jumping into a product or, you know, a different space. What makes one succeed though? Because there's so many, and it feels harder than you might think it would be for someone who's
listen, it's so hard. If it were easy, every celebrity would have $1 billion brand, right? And they don't. We know more that are in the toilet than the ones that are really, really fantastic. What it takes is excellent products, because a talent can drive a customer to purchase something once. If you have a bad product experience, you're not coming back regardless of how much of a fan you are of that person. So the product has to be excellent. And once you've got an excellent product, then you have to create an organization around that product that can deliver to customers on time, that can please customers day in and day out. And so there's a lot more to it than I think people think about. And what we've been great at is solving problems with customers, but also creating like an amazing customer experience. And right now, when there's so much choice for consumers, it can't just be about one thing on its own. You've got to bring all of those things together and organize yourself beautifully for that to be the experience for every single customer every single day.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard.
It's hard. Listen, it's not easy. And I never want to make it feel or seem like these things are easy. They take an unbelievable amount of work. And, you know, I think at this point in my career, I'm working harder than I ever have. So it's like, it's not like, you know, suddenly, you know, you get these amazing valuations and stuff gets really easy. It's quite the opposite. It gets harder and harder. And that's why you got to love it. You got to love what you do. Absolutely.
And you've been through so much stuff, you know, you have so much experience. When it comes to like a lesson that maybe cost you a lot to learn, what is something that you ultimately were like glad and it was worth it that you went through?
You know, I think in the early days of one of my first company, it was called ITB. It was a talent branding agency. We'd put talent and brands together in endorsements deals and product placement and all of that stuff. And I was absolutely killing it in London. I had, you know, 75 people, an agency with, you know, so many like awards and so much great work behind it. And then I tried to open an office here in LA and I failed miserably. I kind of overestimated the reputation that the agency had in Europe, underestimated the difference in the culture, underestimated the way certain places work. And LA more than anywhere is like this kind of community. And I hadn't like really understood that at all. And so I learned the hard way. But I've had, you know, I could tell you like 10 mistakes that I've had. You only need to be right once. What you need is to like get back up from that failure and not think that it's about you. Like, I never take anything personally. I'm like, that thing didn't work. That's not about me as an individual. I think I'm great. I made a mistake. I'm moving on. And so I think so many times people take things to heart and they're like, that was all about me. It's like, no, it's about that moment. You just, as long as you learn, you can go off and do something else. And so I do think that there are it's so much more about a mentality and a style and a way of doing things than it is about like any one individual thing that you're doing.
Yeah. I'm all fired up. Ready to start a business.
On. You're like, what are we doing? What are we doing? What's the business?
And you mentioned like with LA being that community, it is in so many different spaces, you know, you hear it all the time. It's who you know and your connections that you have. I'm so curious from you, like who's been the most chance encounter or like circumstantial moment that has led to a business partnership? Even with Kristen, you just mentioned like the DM and having other people, but what has been like something that was so minuscule that ended up turning into a partnership?
My lawyer.
Yeah. That one go.
That lawyer's been real useful.
Gotta have a good one. Absolutely.
Yeah, you do. Listen, and it's oftentimes it's not the sexy stuff, right? If I'm deadly serious, I think about some of those vendor partnerships. You know, it's the people that wheel their suitcases into my office that have traveled all the way from the Far East or the Middle East or from Europe, and they come and they present their fabrics and they present their innovations and the things that they've been working on. And when you create relationships with people that are like, okay, I'm looking and I want to create this type of fabrication. I want a jean that, you know, snatches you at the waist, and I want pocket bags that flatten your tummy, and you work with the right people. It's those relationships, those kind of unsexy partnerships that seemingly you don't really think about at the time, that if you get it right, again, you only need to be right once. Those are the things that I think in my business are the most everlasting and the most fruitful partnerships. And they're never the ones that you think like, necessarily these are like the people that I want to hang out with, or these are the people that I, you know, envisaged myself being in business with. But those are the most important partnerships that you'll make. The fantastic vendors, the people that work in your factories, the people that are doing the unsexy things are the ones that are actually the most useful and the most helpful when you think about creating a lasting product that people are going to absolutely love.
Yeah, for sure. All right, a passion question from my end. You are one of the handful of people on earth who can say that you were a shark on Shark Tank and in the Dragon's Den. I'm just so
curious. A shark
curious.
and a dragon.
Wow. Yeah, you're like a Disney princess at this point.
There you go.
Gosh, what's it like, just from like, again, from people who had never experienced what that's like, what is it about these pitches from passionate people and the overall opportunity to get to be a part of such a unique show?
You know what, I have to tell you, I find the whole thing so emotional. I would invest in every single one of them just because they have the guts to come in. It's so intimidating, and they come in and you can see they're so rehearsed, they're so practiced. This is like their one shot, and you know, you're all like, all of you are sitting there like scowling, and it's just like, to me, I think that what it takes to get up there and put yourself on the line like that, it says so much about a person. But the shows are so interesting because we know nothing. Like you have zero information. It is your money. So you have to absolutely on the spot, in that moment, you are like, I'm committing to you. Yeah. This is somebody, you know, that I am into, and I'm going to spend hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars
what
on.
Other meeting ever? Is it like you have to decide now and
never.
Also compete?
Even with someone like Kristen, you know, it's like I had like 3-4 months to figure out the deal and negotiate with my lawyer. You know, it's like you have time, and in those circumstances you don't. But I actually have to say I've been very, very lucky. And I remember speaking to Mark Cuban after, I don't know, I did like 3 seasons of the show, multiple episodes, and I was like, am I ever going to make any money out of any of these deals? And he said to me, you know what, Emma, there'll be one that just pays for everything. And my one that's paid for everything is this incredible business, like 2 of my favorite founders on the planet, Casey and Taylor, and they have a company called Kate's Body, and it's nipple covers. And when I met them, they were doing like, I don't know, 650 grand or something, which was like phenomenal for 2 girls that bootstrapped a business with their $10,000 of savings. And, you know, last year they did over $150 million. And so very, very, very profitably.
That's amazing.
So it's just incredible, you know, just unbelievable. But again, it's about what I love about that show. It has so much heart, and not everybody has the same ambition. When I met those girls, I was like, what do you want? Like, what is it that you really, really want? Because my head goes straight to like, how do we make this $1 billion company? They were like, we want to pay our mum's mortgage. No, we want to buy our mum and dad's house. And I was like, great, then let's make that the aim. Let's get there. And so I think that that's what's so nice about business. Like, there are so many different ways to be in business and to do business well. And it has to be personal. It has to be about your hopes, your dreams, your ambitions, what you need. And I think that's the beautiful thing about business, is that it can be an enabler for so many great things in your life.
Yeah, that's incredible. I love that so much. When you talk about, you know, obviously you are so intentional with your time, as you have to be. I can only imagine, like, I don't know, is your screen time high or
Do you
not
know
really?
What? I don't even know what high screen time would be. Maybe not, because I have like an army of people that look at different devices and phones for me.
So it's somebody else's eyes on the phone.
Someone else's eyes. I get to cheat it a little.
Yeah. I was so curious, like, what your For You page would look like. I'm guessing it'd be inspirational content and like
gorgeous, beautiful furniture. I don't know.
Yeah. Have you ever seen, I'm guessing no, the trend of propaganda you're falling for?
No. What is this?
It sounds a lot harsher than it is.
But okay, let's go.
Propaganda you're falling for and what you're not. It's a big trend in 2025. It's just like things you're on board with, things you're out on. I'll give you mine real quick, and I'm curious if you have any. propaganda I'm not falling for is matcha. I don't know if you're a matcha person, but I'm out. Doesn't taste good. It's green for some reason.
I have so fallen for that and drunk the Kool-Aid. Like, I have my matcha sent from Japan. I'm such a freak of matcha.
Whoa. New bucket list unlocked. That's crazy. Another one I'm out on.
I'm fully in.
WhatsApp. I'm out on it.
No, listen, I'm European. I would not have any friends. Like, European people only are on WhatsApp.
Isn't it
like,
crazy how
they
it's
don't even know how to text. They don't know, like, they don't know how to iMessage. They're all WhatsApp. If it were up to me, though, I'd be fully with you.
Okay.
Because I want to consolidate. I want like one message. I've refused to go onto Slack. Like, my whole office is on Slack, and I'm like, no.
At some point, you could have 8 different texting platforms. You don't need it.
Ridiculous.
And I'm out on pickleball. I couldn't do it. I'm just like,
No, that's like tennis for people that just
play
couldn't be
tennis.
bothered. Stop
It's
it.
more fun.
Stop it.
Now, what I'm falling for, propaganda I'm falling for, cooking more homemade meals. Just
1000%.
Yes, I'm like having fun. It's like therapy, I'm like not on my phone, getting screen time,
and it's good for you.
Totally. So,
yes.
And I'm saving money. Believe it or not,
you are saving money. That's for sure.
Insane. I'm working out to feel good.
Yes.
There's that.
As opposed to working out for
like we talked about toxic.
The toxic positivity.
Yeah,
just
it's almost
for like
toxic
buffness. Yes.
Gym culture. It's like I got to be in there 7 days a week. You need to go like 3 times, and you'll be good.
Listen, 3 to 4. That's all we need.
And I'm in on postcards. I don't need. It's like texting. I don't need to give
First
you a
of all,
whole.
that is very romantical.
It's like, hey, grandma, see you in a few.
Yes, love you. I love a stamp. Like the old school. It's so nice.
I love where we're going with this. I know it's kind of hard to think on the spot of like any of those.
What am I into? Listen, okay, let me tell you what I'm out of. Like,
perfect.
Okay. So like that insane morning routine that man did with the ice
Ashton
and
Hall.
the thing and the thing and the thing. I'm like, bro, like what is happening? Like who's your girlfriend and what is she doing while you're doing all of that stuff? That's a no for me.
I couldn't agree more. We could do a whole podcast on that.
I could just go and go and go. Okay, I'm not doing that. What else am I? There will be so many more that I'm like not into than what I'm into.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
what are you in on though?
What am I in on? I am like. This is gonna sound so LA. I'm really in on colostrum, which is
explain. Please elaborate.
Okay, because this
from the
is
Midwest.
for anyone who doesn't know, colostrum's like the first produced milk of the animal, right?
Wow.
But it's supposed to be unbelievable for your immune system.
Okay.
And I use it every day in my smoothie.
Yeah.
And I've been, it's like, I think that it really works. It makes you very energetic and it's very good for your immune system.
Why do I feel like Gwyneth Paltrow told you about this? Because that's 100% something.
I guarantee she did not, but I guarantee she's taking it.
Oh my gosh.
I'm in on the whole longevity
You might be
thing.
so ahead of the curve on this.
Listen,
next
you just
year,
don't know.
you might
I'm
be.
like 75 years old, like for real.
You look great.
Yeah, there you go.
I love it. In the radio show, I do something called All the Feels, where we always wrap with a quote. And I'm always curious about whether it's a quote that you've loved recently or a bit of advice that's really resonated with you. Could you share something like that for our listeners?
Well, listen, I post quotes almost every day because I love them. And I feel like there's something that, really gets to me and inspires me. I'm trying to think of the one. It's so funny. So we had Mark Cuban on the show recently, and Mark is like one of my favorite people in the world. And he has this great quote where he says, if you're not positive energy, you're negative energy. And I think that it's really easy to kind of stay in neutral mode, right? And feel a bit cool and be like, I don't need to be either. But it's really true. If you are not getting up in the morning and thinking about how lucky you are to be alive and thinking about how grateful you are and being positive to the people around you. I don't know what you expect in life. And I think so much of what I'm doing on this podcast is about, there's another great quote I love, the more you learn, the more you earn, from Warren Buffett.
Bars.
But, I think about that all of the time. What are you putting out there and what do you expect to get back? And for me, I love that idea of being constantly positive and thinking about what you're putting out and being really purposeful with it.
That's amazing.
So,
I can't wait to follow you and just pull my quotes from your page
every day. Babe. That's it. It's so easy.
Lastly, maybe this is it doesn't have to be super deep of a question, but I'm just curious, how do you want to be remembered when everything's all said and done?
That is a great question. And, I would honestly like to be remembered as the person that enabled millions and millions and millions of people to meet their full potential. Mm-hmm. That would be it for me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Well, it's been so nice chatting with you. I feel like, again, I could do this for like an hour on a bunch of different topics, but I'm so excited for your podcast. I'm so excited for all the projects you have coming up. What can your followers and people that are just getting to know you look forward to as the season goes on of Aspire?
Oh, listen, I have so many great guests. I just put out my first solo episode today, which
I was listening.
so
The tips,
scared about.
But
it's, it's a good one. It's like working, it's tracking. It's like, we love it. But we're just going to have like a lot of great people that are ready to be really honest. And, it's all of the people that I speak to every day, that I rely on, my mentors, people that, my husband is coming on, which is going to be absolutely crazy. But I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to bring my network into a place where I can really spread them about and get everybody else to take everything that they need from them.
Can't wait to see it. Anything I missed, team? Anything
Not
you want to
a
add?
sausage. You were so good. You were so great at this.
So nice to meet you. Again, I'm glad we're like somewhat of coworkers, I guess, now. I'll be sending you
Yes,
some emails being
we're
like,
in the
I got some
Audacy
advice.
family.
Yeah. But thank you so much, Emma. Congrats on everything and can't wait to follow your journey and be inspired. So thank you so much for the time.
Thank you, my dear.
Appreciate
so nice
it.
to meet you.